Scorpio. It's the 8th sign in the zodiac and represents those who are born between October 24th and November 22nd. Scorpio in Greek mythology comes from the story of Orion. This giant of a man was the son of Poseidon and Euphriale, and who is also said to be the most handsome man alive. He and Artemis were hunting partners. Orion was a great hunter who had boasted that he could kill any animal on earth. Gaia was angry with Orion and sent Scorpius, a giant scorpion, to kill him. The two fought and both were killed in the struggle, but from their ashes rose the constellations Scorpius and Orion. Zeus placed both Scorpion and Orion in the heavens as constellations. Scorpion is a pretty big constellation. Scorpius contains several bright stars, including Antares, one of the brightest stars in the night sky, and it also contains the stinger of its namesake, the bright star Crab, which marks the scorpion's head. According to astrology, Scorpio is a water sign, and the traits of those born under the sign include determination and loyalty. This zodiac sign is associated with death and rebirth, which makes sense when you consider that its ruling planet is Pluto, the Roman god of the underworld. Scorpio is one of the most mysterious and intriguing signs in the zodiac. With its personality traits that are both fiery and intense, Scorpios have a reputation for being both passionate and determined. Scorpios are known for their innate sense of intuition and their sharp analytical skills. They tend to be very perceptive, picking up on subtle cues that others could miss. This often makes them excellent problem solvers, as they can quickly identify problems and develop effective strategies for solving them. In addition to their intelligence, Scorpios are also characterized by their fierce determination. Once they set their sights on a goal, well then they're unlikely to give up until they achieve it. This tenacity can both be a positive and a negative trait, as it can lead to great success, but also stubbornness and inflexibility. Scorpios are also known for their passion and their intensity. They tend to approach everything in life with great enthusiasm and energy, and this sometimes can result in impulsive decisions. But it also makes Scorpios very exciting and fun to be around. Well, today I have with me Sard, who is a Scorpio man, so let's ask him. Hi Sard, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with I'm going to start gentle, okay, and we're going to ask some really generic questions, and then we can get into the meat of what actually makes a Scorpio man tick, okay? Right, so what is your favourite food or your favourite meal of all time?
Oh, it's anything like savoury, basically, so anything rich and flavourful. Curry, I would have to say.
It's curry, so you're like savoury and spicy rather than sweet and sugary.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is your favourite song or like your genre of music, just so people can get a feel for like who you are as a personality?
I think it depends on what mood I'm in at the time, but as a generally speaking, I would say 9 Inch Nails and things like that, or something really orchestral and like powerful, like anything from Two Steps from Hell or operatic pieces, but not the stage opera, but more, big.
Yeah, like grungy type, dirty sounding. Because when I think of 9 Inch Nails, I really think of that sort of grungy, dirty sound.
Exactly.
That's really cool. So, your genre of movies, like horror, romantic, comedy?
I'd say comedy. The darker the better.
I knew you'd say that.
Nothing quite beats a black comedy. Other than that, something thoughtful, like Sunshine, for example, being a quite good movie.
Yeah. How would you describe your current or your dream career? Well, if you don't want to talk about your current career, then what's your dream career?
To be honest with you, I don't really feel like a dream career is in my absolute goals. It's more about the bits that you do in between the humdrum job that you have to do to survive. I mean, it's more about following my passions and doing the things that I want to do with my life, not what I want to do
for work. Yeah. That's a brilliant answer. Okay, so how would you describe your sense of humour?
Like we were saying before, very, very dark. Verging on the inappropriately dark. Quick joke's good and everything, but something that makes you wince slightly is preferable.
Okay, right, so now we've covered the sort of icebreaker questions, and hopefully people have got a bit more of a sense of who you are as a person. We're going to get into the more heavier questions now, okay? Right, so what qualities are important to you in a partner?
A strong sense of independence, I would think, is a massive part of that. The person needs to be their own complete person.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond that, I think we're fairly flexible. I certainly am in terms of that. Someone who has their own passion as well, their own fire. They need to, have a certain drive themselves.
Yeah. So they need to like have their own hobbies and their own life, and then not be in each other's pockets 24/7. It's like you're still independently living your lives, but then there's things that you can do together type thing.
Exactly. So while it's someone that you'd be very happy sharing your life with, I think they'd also need to be a person who is, if they were lost on a desert island, would actually be fairly content if they were able to get their basic needs covered.
Yeah, so someone who's adaptable then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who is wanting to date or get to know better a Scorpio man? So say someone's listening right now and they're crushing on a Scorpio man. What could they do to improve their chances of capturing the Scorpio man's heart?
Well, here's the part that's a bit awkward on that question. The main thing is that you don't. I think Scorpio men are very good at picking up on people being genuine. By all means, show an interest to show you're interested in them, and see if you get a response from them. But don't change yourself to be what you think they want to be, because we'll pick up on that really quickly. And if you come across as not genuine, that's a massive turn off. Again, you've got to be confident in who you are. You need to know exactly who you are first before anyone else.
So don't excuse me, so don't be a try hard basically, because that could come across as you being inauthentic.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. So the next question, what are your turn-ons and turn-offs in a relationship or a potential relationship? And I think you've already covered quite a lot of that already, but is there anything that you can think of that you can add to that?
Well, to further elaborate, any clinginess is a big one. Again, the other person needs to have that self-confidence to be authentically who they are. And yes, that might well mean that the Scorpio doesn't like you, but that's the point really. There's no good faking it. It's better to find out first, and then you can both move on to other potential relationships. But there's no faking it until you make it on there. So any clinginess, neediness definitely needs to be sort of not there. That's not to say you need to be aloof and cold to a Scorpio man. You know,
just don't be texting every 5 minutes type thing.
That sort of thing, yeah. If your texts are going back and forward and you're having a good laugh, you're having a good joke, you're having a in-depth conversation about something. But if you fire off a couple of texts and you're not getting an in-depth answer back, how are you? I'm fine, and it feels like you're trying. I think you'd be best off just leaving them be for a bit. They're probably busy. They've got their mind on other things, and hearing the phone buzz every 5 seconds is gonna sort of grind the gears.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit stressful. Okay, so how do you behave when you're flirting or crushing on someone? So basically, how can other people tell if a Scorpio man's flirting with them?
It's mainly for taking an interest in their passions, and it sounds a lot more intense than it actually is. But just find out what makes you tick. Like if they're asking what's your favourite books, what's your favourite movies, a bit like the intro questions that we've done today, and just seeing that spark of it in your eyes almost, where when you've got a favourite book or a favourite film, and someone starts you off and you just go on a half-hour rant on the beauty of the book or your favourite character. I think that's really enjoyable for a Scorpio to see that sort of fire for anything, even if it seems mundane. It might, you don't have to be wanting to be an astronaut or anything crazy. If you sit there and want to talk about, I don't know, cooking and making your favourite pastry, but as long as you do it with passion, that's the main thing.
So someone else having passion in something is a huge turn on, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a career. As I said before, it's not about this drive to make a massive mark on the world. It's just a drive for something. Again, even if it's for your hobbies and pastimes, and it doesn't have to be sort of highbrow stuff. It can just be how you enjoy yourself.
So how do you react when someone is crushing on you or flirting with you? So do you even notice when someone is flirting with you, or is it just something like, does it go over the top of your head?
Well, you mean beyond the normal being a man thing? 'Cause, I mean, let's face it, I don't think star signs make much of a difference there. I think men as a general species can be pretty dense. That said, beyond the normal man being dense thing, it's just that, I'll be honest, the general flirty behaviour, taking an interest, flicking your hair, whatever. I mean, you can't be too subtle with a Scorpio. But that said, that's if you want to go down the flirting line. I know plenty of Scorpios that have had relationships literally just spawn from friendship almost. Well, definitely friendship. Shared hobbies, shared passions.
It is a good starting point for a relationship.
Yeah, that's it. I think again, it's with that wanting to see that drive or passion in someone for something they enjoy being such a turn on, sort of in the brain. I think that's a good start for anyone to just share what you're, and again, stay authentic to who you are.
So is it fair to say then that a Scorpio man is attracted to someone's intellect over looks?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you handle someone's unwanted advances towards you? So say when someone's clearly flirting with you and you're not interested in them at all, like how do you handle that?
Generally, I'd say that I would, and I certainly would think plenty of Scorpio men would, well, basically be a bit cold, especially if they've noticed that you are interested and they're not, you might well get basically the opposite to the sort of passion that you're aiming to share. So like short clipped answers, we could come across, if we're being that way, as a little bit of aloof. But what we're not looking for is for you to try harder and win us over.
Right, because that'll end up pushing you further away.
Exactly. That gets onto the sort of frankly irritating side of the spectrum.
Right. So how do you deal with injustice? So, for example, false accusations being directed towards you, and then how do you deal or cope with injustice that is being done to others?
I think for the large part that depends on specifically who is doing the injustice and who is receiving it as well. Again, I think Scorpio men can be quite cold to the people, causes and things that we aren't passionate about. I think, and including, the people to us, like if someone is being unjust to me, it's not really what they're saying or about me and who they're saying it to per se. It's more, who is this person who's saying these things about it? If I don't care who they are,
ouch,
I don't care what their opinion is. And because of that, I'm generally going to ignore, for the most part, everything you say, to an extent. I mean, it depends on how hard they push down that line. But if it's, an office place, someone's just doing the general background murmuring about how they don't like you, I'm not going to be that bothered. And the same applies to the people that I care about. If they are doing the same thing, but to somebody I care about, that's probably going to get a bigger reaction than doing it about me. For myself, I'd say I've got a fairly slow boil, but when it's to people I care about, you'll get a much quicker reaction.
Could you tell us more about that quicker reaction?
We can reach it either way. I think most Scorpios are definitely a slow boil. We can put up with a lot, and people say, I think anyone who says to a Scorpio that we're very passionate and vengeful and things like that, I think them people have probably really pissed off a Scorpio before, like gone out of their way to piss off a Scorpio, because generally speaking, we're not going to be super reactive, slow to boil to temperature, but once you get us up there, once you get our blood boiling,
it's a done deal at that point. There's no going back.
Exactly. We don't. Well, I don't have a vast capacity for forgiveness, and especially when someone's pushed it to the part where I've had to react, or as a Scorpio, we've had to react. We've done our best to ignore you. Fine, you've finally got our attention. Well, now you're going to regret having that attention.
Can you tell us more about that vengeance? What type of vengeance? Like, is there's a lot of different types.
Again, I think most Scorpio men would balance who, is it about, are you attacking me personally, or are you attacking someone I care about? Again, I think we have that bigger passion for other people than ourselves. But I think once you've gained our negative attention and we want you out of our lives, we will burn it down. That's what I mean about the slow boil. I mean, it takes a lot to get us there, but once we're there, we will not be explosively angry. We will look at you and your life, and we will analyze it. And I know that sounds crazy, but we'll look at, we'll pay that attention that you've wanted. We will pay it in all the ways, and frankly will find weak points, and anything that shakes or wiggles when it shouldn't, we're going to that's where we're going to drive in the wedges and the pins.
And then salt the earth.
Absolutely. To salt the earth, so nothing will ever grow there again. And when we're done with you, when we feel satisfied in our vengeance, well, we're just going to dismiss you at that point. Again, straight back to that. Straight back to that cold dismissal of, I'm no longer interested in you, I'm going to pursue what I'm interested in again once more.
Wow. Shit a brick, never screw a Scorpio. Okay, right, so I have got a list of zodiac stereotypes, and we're going to find out which of these stereotypes you agree with and which ones you disagree with. And of course, feel free to elaborate on these if you want to. Right, so let's take a look at these stereotypes. Okay. Driven and ambitious.
Yes, I agree with that, but I would say that the ambition is for the things that interest us. It's not about world domination or running a corporation. If the Scorpio is an artist, they'll want to be the best artist. If it doesn't have to be grand scale things, but absolutely passionate about what we do.
Yeah, it's not worth doing if you're not feeling it. Fierce determination.
Again, once we've set our sights on something, and very often someone, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Passionate.
For the things that interest us, things and people. Again, I think Scorpios are very black and white on that. If something stirs us, we will absolutely pursue that in the strongest way. But if we don't do any middle ground, it's either in...
It's like you get tunnel vision.
Exactly.
Kinda, yeah. Charismatic and magnetic.
Well, I think to answer that one, it would come across as egotistical as well. I won't speak about myself there, but for other Scorpios I know, then yes, a lot of Scorpios I know are in leading positions, whether that's business or social.
Yeah. Now this word, I've got a bit of a problem with this word, intense. The reason why I've got a problem with this one is because oftentimes it's used in conjunction with being serious. So what do you think of that? Like when people describe Scorpios, they say, oh, intense, but they mean it in the way of like a Scorpio serious, you know, they're not up for a laugh, they're all dark and drab and dreary and do you know what I mean?
No, I don't think that at all. I think we're very sort of happy-go-lucky people for the most part. I mean, I don't think Scorpios go out looking for trouble. Again, I thought that intensity comes with the things that inspire us, and the dark side of that is the same intensity to the people, things that annoy us as well. Like we do, that laser focus, I think, can be good and it can be bad.
Yeah. Transformative.
Yeah, adaptable. Adaptable is, I think, is especially a Scorpio trait. Throw us in any situation. I think it's that analytical brain thing. We look at the situation we're in, sort of deconstruct it. What's the best tactic to use?
Yeah. So you don't fold under the pressure type thing.
Not at all. I think we sort of very good at keeping things in mental lists. What's important, what's not.
Stubborn.
Absolutely.
Impulsive.
On occasion. I don't think it's a trait of a Scorpio. I think that it comes back to that passion thing. When we've got an idea in our head, say for that person that we care about, if we see that perfect gift or that perfect getaway, yeah, we'll again, that laser focus, we'll jump on that and we'll push that as quickly and passionately and intensely as possible.
So it depends what it is that determines whether you're impulsive or not.
Yeah, I think once we've got an idea on our head, it's very hard to get us back off that track.
Yeah. This is more of the negative traits now that we're going to touch upon from the stereotypes list. And to be honest with you, Scorpios have the longest list of negatives and the most harsh as well, right? So we've got dangerous.
How much did you piss us off? Again, I think we're pretty cool people overall, but if you're watching this because you're wondering why that Scorpio's sort of salting the earth and around you in your life at the moment, ask yourself, what did you do? That would
wow.
You've definitely got their attention, and just curl up and hope they'll get bored quickly.
Oh, okay. Manipulative.
Yes, I agree. But again, it's to do with that goal-orientated thing. We want genuine people. I don't think it's manipulative in terms of relationships and such like. But again, when it comes down to, I'm sure we'll get to a classic Scorpio trait of being vengeful in a moment.
That's actually the next one.
then that will be. I mean, again, frankly, it'll be looking at the circle around you, your friends, family, workers, colleagues. If it furthers the goal of achieving the vengeance that makes us satisfied, then yeah, we will absolutely manipulate the people around you, but not necessarily the people we care about personally ourselves.
I got you, yeah. Okay, so now we don't need to do the vengeful one, do we? Right, so we can move on to lusty.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the Scorpio man, if you ever, when you see someone staring off into space and you think, oh, I wonder what he's thinking about. I wonder if he's thinking nice thoughts. It depends on what you're into, really. But I think sort of sex dominates a good portion of the Scorpio man's sort of daily thought process.
Okay. Obsessive. Now that can be a positive and a negative.
For the things that inspire us, definitely. We will, again, that laser focus, we're on something, and that thing has to be pursued through to the end. Good end or bad end, it has to be. We don't like leaving a job half done. Okay.
Jealous.
Yeah, I think that's fair overall. I think, again, if it's something that we've set, or something or someone that we've set our focus, our heart on, and it's, again, it's that all or nothing thing. Yeah, I think that jealousy is fair.
Yeah. Secretive.
Yes, definitely. Doesn't have to be bad, but as a Scorpio, I very much think, even in a long-term relationship, I still think my thoughts are my own and very sovereign to me.
Yep. Yeah, you just don't want everybody knowing your business. Really.
Knowledge is power and all that.
But then as long as you're not holding back any nasty secrets. Okay, let's just move on. Holds grudges.
only until we've finished burning your life to the ground. After that, we're cool with you.
Wow.
But yeah, for when you're under a Scorpio grudge, it's not going to be a passive grudge. If it feels like the Scorpio has got a passive grudge against you, they're building up ammunition. They're looking for weak cracks, and the moment you show a weakness, they might be a decade later, but again, they're going to definitely pursue that.
It's very patient then.
Yes.
See, that's something that's not on the list, is impatience. I see that all the time. Oh, Scorpios, like they've got no patience whatsoever, and it's like, how many Scorpios do you actually know? We're incredibly patient, and it's like, as you say, it could take us 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, we will always... I'll leave it at that, I think. Right, should we move on to questions from our subscribers? Right, so Tammy Mize is asking, was wondering, as a Scorpio man, have you ever dated a Scorpio woman? And if so, what was your experience like? My first love was a Scorpio male, and I'm a Scorpio female. Just reflecting back, it was probably one of the most tumultuous relationships I've ever had, but it's also a hard one to forget.
Yes, I have, and I think that Scorpio relationships actually work out quite well, personally. Again, okay, if it goes wrong, two blazing infernos wanting to destroy each other is not the best way to end things, and it can get very, very messy if that happens. But for when it's working, again, it's that passion where you've both got your own interests and you're both passionate about each other. You don't have to live in each other's pockets. It's actually a very good lifestyle. Each pursues their own passions, and passions that you share together are incredibly satisfying, and your passion for each other can be incredibly satisfying. So yes, absolutely. I think when it goes really good, but also I would say when it goes really bad, the sort of there needs to be evacuation sirens for all the civilians that might be caught in the area.
Get everybody out the area. There's two Scorpios fighting with each other.
Exactly.
But in sort of like a day-to-day relationship, I imagine that could lead to a lot of humorous tit for tat. But then if that became a serious argument, that humorous tit for tat can very, very quickly cross the line.
Yeah, I think that's it. Again, that's that slow boil thing. A bit of gentle ribbing here and there, but I think pushed too far might activate that sort of negative stinger in the tail.
Okay, so Victoria Kaleja, I do apologise if I've mispronounced your name. She's asking, Scorpio man, in a relationship, what is your deal breaker and what is your deal maker? And does anybody get a second chance?
Deal breaker, clinginess, as we mentioned it before. If a Scorpio man feels sort of claustrophobic with the over attention that they're getting, that's such a massive turn off. Even if it's a relationship hasn't started yet, but even within, I don't think a Scorpio man would enter into a relationship with someone who they know is clingy, but if something happens that creates that further down the line and makes a change in that relationship, I think that can definitely be a problem. Again, the person with the Scorpio man, they need to have their own thing going on, their own life, their own passions. Not to say we want to live separately, but that sort of two together thing can be really sort of like a straitjacket. And the deal makers, again, I think with Scorpio men in relationships, it comes back to that having your own lives, but having a couple of passions. You can both be interested in 100 different things each. and only have 5 that cross over. But as long as them 5 are really important to the pair of you, that is absolutely a deal maker. It's something to really delve into together, to share that spark of inspiration that you get. So yeah, I think that's the biggest deal maker. Definitely a mental thing, not a physical thing. And as far as the second chance things, hell no.
Oh, okay. So I assume like she's asking, like, does anyone get a second chance? So like, say you're in a relationship, you break up, would there be a chance of getting back together with an ex, basically?
I think behind every Scorpio lies a very long, winding path of burnt bridges.
Right.
I think when we leave anything, a relationship, a job, a friendship, I think when it's done, it is done. Especially if there's any trust being broken. But no, I think if you've come away from a Scorpio, you'd probably be best leaving it be, personally.
Okay. Let's see if we've got more questions here. I knew somebody was going to ask this, and I believe we actually had 2 people that asked in very different ways. But I'm gonna read them both to you anyway. YH5 says, does having multiple romantic interests appeal to you, or do you prefer to be solely focused on just one committed to one I'm trying to read that. Do you prefer to be just committed to one person? I think they mean. I'm a Scorpio woman here, and I'm wondering if the same applies to both sides generally.
Bit of a mixed answer, that one. I think when it comes back to the earlier question we had about Scorpio men's, forget the phrase, but basically our sex drive.
Yeah.
I think if there's no one that we're very interested in, yes, I think Scorpio men can be quite promiscuous. Sort of really getting it on with everyone and everything if need be to sort of fill their needs. But I think again that ends when they find someone they are interested in, and I think the multiple partners thing is only if we don't have someone who we are deeply interested in. But once that person is there, then that Scorpio laser focus kicks in again. No one else matters.
Alright, so it's like everyone else just disappears and no one else exists type thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So there's that intensity then.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Crystal Russell asks, as a Scorpio, are you naturally drawn to the darker side of things and people? Not in a twisted way, but in a curious what makes them tick kind of way.
Definitely. I do put Scorpios down as a sort of watchers, analysing people, places, things. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think the darkness is especially interesting to us.
Sort of like taboo things, isn't it, really? It's like the stuff that other people don't really want to talk about. Like the darker side of conversations, such as I had one the other day, and I actually got laughed at for it because it came out as a bit dark, and this is absolutely true. I was asked a question, it was about death, and I said something that sounded quite sort of poetic, and it was, well, you do know that life and death do walk hand in hand with each other, and it's absolutely true, but people don't want to talk about it, they don't want to think about it. So it's stuff like that, the darker side of things, and like how Scorpios can really delve into that sort of side of life.
I definitely think that's the case. Yeah, it's a definite attraction to that for us for whatever reason. I don't think I could put it properly into words why, but again, back to even dark humour and things like that, anything that pushes its luck in a lot of ways, and when we're talking about that, but yeah, any of the sort of dark side of life and spirituality, even, it all Doesn't mean that we absorb ourselves in it, but we certainly look on it with interest.
Yeah, I think it's because Scorpios know that the darker side of life exists, and I think that scares other people, because everybody would just like to think of rainbows and sunshine and picnics and love, 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 and it's like, guys, have you seen the other side of life too? You do know that these things exist parallel to each other type thing. You know, it's that.
Yeah.
I think that's really intriguing. Okay, so Melody Dick 6 asks, do you believe that more than one person can win in a situation? What is your definition of power? Thank you.
Yes, I think more than one person can win. Me, myself, and I.
What?
If there's something to be won, I think definitely a Scorpio will try to win it. Unequivocally, we don't share trophies with anyone. But that's, again, if we feel like we're in competition in the first place. Again, we've got a very limited view on what we want from, well, life and things, and I think for them we'll fight, and for everything else we'll just leave. But the stuff that you're fighting us for, absolutely we have to win. We can't have it any other way.
Wow. Okay, so Lisa Brow is asking, what positive attributes do you see in others or in other star signs that you wish that you had within yourself?
To be completely honest with you, compassion. I understand compassion, and I definitely the pros and everything like that. It's just, it doesn't come easily. Again, I think it's perhaps part of that analytical mind. So when you see someone or something that's ended up in a less than desirable situation, I think the first thought is that darkness almost, you know, how did they get there? And it's not about blaming.
Yeah.
It's more of a, again, that interest. It's like poking something unidentified with a stick and seeing what is. How did they get in that situation in the first place? And we can, and definitely, you know, we're not psychopaths. We don't look at someone in a bad situation and say, you know, well, somehow you've got yourself there. It just doesn't come as a first thought, and I kind of respect anyone whose sort of initial thought instead of how is more of a, what can I do to help? We do try to help, but it's not that instinctive thing. Right. It's only after we've sort of had a look at what's going on here.
Okay. So Happy Day asks, do you really believe that a Scorpio is jealous?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Patricia T asks, was it easy, meh, or difficult to get over that woman that broke your heart?
If you broke her heart, then again, it really stings. Again, it's that passion that we feel. I think it depends how involved we were in that relationship. If it was a true romance, a true love, then absolutely we do have a hard time forgiving and forgetting, and we have a very hard time getting away from that. And when we do, it's not usually in a it was good while it lasted kind of way. It's more in a sort of a bitter, dark shadow of it that's now in your past. I don't think anything that's been that passionate can ever be looked on in the same light. Yeah, not fondly at least.
Yeah. So I'm just going to add to that question then that Patricia's asked, and I'm going to ask is, do you, as a Scorpio man, do you find that you fall in love easily? No, not at all. I think it's easy to get that attraction to kick things off, and obviously, again, we've all been there with the honeymoon phase, you know, the sex, the passion and all that, but the part where it turns to love, that's the more, again, shared passions, getting to know that person as a soul more than
more than the surface level of I find this person attractive and we've got a little bit of stuff in common.
Yeah.
I think them roots are slow, but when they grow, they are very, very strong.
Wow. Okay. So I do need to apologise first because I'm absolutely going to butcher this name, so I do apologise. Shuniz Naidu asks, my husband is a Scorpio and I'm wanting to know, when in love and committed, do they love and trust with all, or do they hold something back?
That's kind of a bit back to the Scorpio keeping their secrets thing, I think. When it comes to the love and the relationship, they give it all, but that doesn't mean that they won't have their secrets. These aren't exclusive things.
Yeah.
I think when a Scorpio loves, they love with everything that they have, and they put everything they can into the relationship. But I don't think a Scorpio man will ever share absolutely everything.
Not everything, so they do hold something back.
Quite a lot, I would say. There's always going to be a wall, quite a dark wall with Scorpio man. I think the happier things in life they will always share, but any burdens they carry, I don't think that a Scorpio man will likely ever open up about them. I think they do tend to take that with them all the way to the end.
Right. Okay, so I am Abdillah asks, as a Scorpio man, why do you ghost people without any explanation?
Yeah, it's because we're not interested in you. It's just that simple. Again, it's the sort of black and white of Scorpio interest, to be honest with you. It's, yes, there might, I assume with this sort of question, it leads back into the, perhaps even the sex thing that gives the Scorpio men and women this reputation for being promiscuous. If we don't feel deeply, then we don't really feel at all. I think we perhaps see what's being shared as a moment of fun, but if they're not getting back in touch with you, they've not felt that sort of spark to start that flame going. It's not personal, and I'm sorry again for making Scorpio sound psychopathic, but if we ain't into you, we just not.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Okay, so Jordan Jones asks, do you have control of your impulse or not?
Yes, I don't see many Scorpio men sort of losing themselves completely to it. We definitely have a passion and a pursuit of that, but again, it tends to be deeper than that. Any impulsiveness we have will be sort of flighty ideas, something that's going to take place in the very short term. I think for the longer term things in life, we're not impulsive at all about that. Nothing starts an impulsive road and carries on. It's just has to have depth to it.
Yeah. Okay, so Leonard Gooden asks, I know they say Scorpio is hypersexual. On September the 9th, I will be 3 years celibate. I want to know if he, so that's you as a Scorpio man, is hyperactive sexually, or if he takes time to be celibate. Is sex nonchalant, or actually a deeper connection is needed?
I'd like to say, as a Scorpio man, I find celibate is an offensive word and concept. So no, not by choice. A Scorpio, I don't think many Scorpio men would sort of choose to remain sort of celibate by choice. Again, for us, I think sort of sex is a very big drive into our passions with an individual we care about, and if it's not with someone we care about, it's more about quantity than anything else.
Okay. See if we've got more. Yes, we do. Okay. This one, I did laugh when I saw this one, because it's very harsh. Dion Ford asks, why are you always a player with addictions?
That's because we're passionate. Again, anything that catches our...
Do you have addictions?
Only for the things I like, and I can stop anytime I want.
And what's the sort of things that you like?
Anything. I mean, me personally, I'm an avid gamer, for example, whether it comes down to sort of computer games or even board games. Sort of in a lot of ways the traditional sort of nerdy
Are
things.
they really addictions though? If it's things that you enjoy doing and like hobbies and stuff that you do as a pastime, I wouldn't really consider that as an addiction.
That's true. I've never found anything like that detrimental to the rest of life. I mean, again, for myself and any Scorpios, I know that work-life balance. I don't think we have a particular problem where it takes over the stuff we have to do.
Yeah.
I think, when it comes down to our free time, we absolutely will sink ourselves into the same thing over and over because we want to master it, which can perhaps seem like we've got addiction. I think when there's something that we are pursuing, we pursue it with such
vigor.
With such aggression even that where you're like, wow, this person has a problem. But then I think once we've finished that thing, once we've got what we want, once we've mastered that art or whatever we're doing, then everything's like, okay, that itch is scratched. I feel good now. I'm still going to enjoy it, but I don't know. I think perhaps the addictive side of thing is a Scorpio on the way to something, and once they've reached it, I think they're a lot more balanced afterwards.
Yeah, so it's like the way that question's asked. It would seem that this lady has had problems with Scorpio men for being cheats and being addicted to drugs and all that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think that, when you mention things like drugs and drink and things like that, I don't think that's the common Scorpio experience, in all fairness. I don't think that affects most Scorpio men, but I can certainly understand where that would come from. I think a Scorpio man who can't find a passion or a person, I think they're filling a gap with something, and they perhaps haven't got the imagination on that particular time to do anything more constructive. But I think I can't personally think where I would put that energy if I didn't have an idea of where it would go. It probably could turn into drink or drugs or sex or anything.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so our last subscriber question is from Angela Vargas, and she asks, now I love this one, she says, what must I do to keep your attention, dear Scorpio male? You're the only one that keeps me perplexed.
Ooh, that is simply being your own awesome self. I know that sounds cheesy, but for a Scorpio man, seeing a person pursue their life in the way that they want to pursue their life is a real interest and attraction. But again, that sort of analytical thing, we can quite happily watch someone sort of pursuing their goals with the same sort of passion we understand, and it's interesting, and we will root for you. So be you, be genuine, do your own thing, share your passions with the Scorpio that you care about. But yeah, I think for a lot of Scorpio men, if we need to feel that if we weren't around, you'd be just fine.
Okay, well that's awesome. Okay, well thank you for spending your time with us today, Sard. You have been very, very generous. So what did all you guys think? Were the answers as expected, or did anything come as a complete surprise? Are you a Scorpio man? How would your answers differ or be the same as Sard's? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure that you switched your notifications on for our next interview, We don't know who that's going to be with yet. It's going to be a surprise. So yeah, I just hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and we'll see you again in the next video. Bye.